projected points for each player. We're going to do 5 QBs, 5 running backs, 5 wide receivers, and 5 tight ends.
Yeah, and these are just probably going to go over the top ones for the week, since these are the players that are most likely on your team, or someone in your league has them at least. So those are the players that we'll be going over. If we want to start with quarterback, it lists the top quarterback for the week with projected points at 25.4 as Josh Allen on the Bills. So what do you think of that, Matt?
Honestly, I think he's going to be right around that 25.4 mark, if not a little higher. The Bills' offense looked really good against the Rams, and the Titans really didn't look all that great against the Giants. So I think Josh Allen could have some good success there.
Yeah, I totally agree. The Titans did not look good last week. So I totally think of Josh Allen having the first week that he did. I would expect him to just double down on that and do the same thing again.
Yeah, the Bills look really strong. They're going to be a contender all year as long as they can stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, even though it kind of looked like they got their running game going too. So if that happens, I mean, there's no reason that Josh Allen can't do it all. I mean, I honestly think they can win the Super Bowl this year, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we're a long way from the playoffs, but I think they have a really good chance. Moving on to number 2, we have Patrick Mahomes. He's matched up against the Chargers, and he's projected 23.6 fantasy points.
Yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to do what Patrick Mahomes does, and that's get a lot of fantasy points. I mean, he had 5 touchdown passes last week. Dude's just an absolute animal. We know this. I mean, 23.6. I think he might get over that, but I will say that the Chargers defense is better than the Cardinals defense. So we'll see what happens this week.
Yeah, the Chargers have a lot of good defensive backs. They've got Asante Samuel, Derwin James, not to mention they've got Bosa on the line. So they've got a really strong defense. They definitely have more pressure than the Cardinals. So it may affect Pat Mahomes, but I think he'll have another good week.
I agree. Like I said, it's Patrick Mahomes. He does it. That's what he does.
You're right. And also at number 3, we have Justin Herbert. It's the same game matched up against Pat Mahomes. I think this is going to be a high scoring shootout. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the over-under is for the game itself, but I would expect it to be pretty high. And if it's not, I'm taking the over. It's a Thursday night game, right?
It is the Thursday night game, so we'll find out tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing Thursday night game. Everyone should be watching it. It's on Prime Video too, which is a little bit weird, but I'll be watching it one way or another.
Yeah, me too. It'll be a good game. I think it'll be really high scoring. Both teams have a lot of offense, although the Chargers are probably going to be missing Keenan Allen with a hamstring issue. So that may change their offense up a little bit, but they still have Mike Williams and Austin Eckler, and they have a lot of good options.
Yeah, both those teams are pretty loaded as far as receiving options go. Both those quarterbacks are doing really well. So I expect it to be, a high scoring game for both of those players.
Totally agree. Moving on to Lamar Jackson, and he's playing against the Dolphins. He's projected 21.5 fantasy points. This might have to be my first under prediction. The Dolphins. Yeah, the Dolphins have a really good defense, and the Dolphins beat the Ravens last year, if I'm not mistaken, and Lamar didn't look that great. And I think the Dolphins have way more offense this year, obviously adding Tyreek Hill. I think Chase Edmonds is a good addition. I think this is going to be a tough game for the Ravens.
Yeah, I am not fully bought in on the Tua hype train yet, but the Dolphins looked really good last week. So they might start making me believing. But as far as Lamar Jackson goes, I might have to take the under on 21.5 points there. There's always the chance that he gets, a big running touchdown and scores 10 points from that. But I don't really see it happening. Miami's got a good defense this year. 21.5. I'm going to go under that.
I totally agree. I would go under 21.5. It's just the Dolphins defense has been really strong.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right, and moving on to number 5, we've got Jalen Hurts with 20.9 fantasy points. In my opinion, I think this is an easy over solely for the fact that Jalen Hurts runs the ball a lot. And
Yeah.
Minnesota's defense looked pretty good against the Packers. I will say that. But Jalen Hurts just is really good for fantasy with how much he runs the ball.
Yeah, he gets a lot of those rushing yards. And most leagues, well, I don't know what your league score is, but most leagues are, 6-point rushing touchdowns. So that's big for him as well because, I mean, they'll give him the ball on the goal line all the time. As far as weapons goes, I mean, they picked up a couple players, but it's just really him scoring points comes with him running the ball a lot. That's really what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. He's still not, I'm still not totally on board with his passing ability. Sometimes he looks shaky. Sometimes his completion percentages aren't the best. He's not throwing down the field all that much. So, in terms of him getting air yards, I'm not super confident, but he's always ready to do it with the legs.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
All right, so now we'll move on to running backs. First up, we've got Christian McCaffrey matching up against the Giants. He's projected at 21.4 fantasy points in PPR. I'm not really sure how to feel about this one. He wasn't used that much in week 1, and Carolina just overall looks kind of iffy to me.
I never know how to feel about Christian McCaffrey. He's liable to get 50 and he's liable to get 3. It's really a toss up there with 21.4. I mean, if he was utilized like he was last game, then the under for sure. But I mean, there's always a chance that Baker just dumps it off to him every other play, which didn't seem to happen last week though. Playing the Giants though, Giants defense isn't too strong. So maybe Christian McCaffrey will get the ball a lot. They'll use him to try and run and open up the passing game for Baker more. I don't know, 21.4 though. I really don't know about this one. I'm probably going to go with the under on that.
I would kind of have to disagree with your point about the Giants defense, actually. I think in years past, they've actually been pretty good and pretty much the only reason why the Giants have been at all competitive in the games that they've played. And they looked pretty good against the Titans. They kind of shut down Derrick Henry, and obviously they won the game. So, and I would say
that is true. That is true. I totally forgot that they kind of just held Derrick Henry to, I don't know how many yards, but it wasn't a lot. It was like 80 something.
I mean, he wasn't much of a factor. The Titans' offense usually looks a lot better. I think they're missing AJ Brown right now for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if they're stopping Derrick Henry, they're probably going to stop Christian McCaffrey. But Christian McCaffrey is a little bit different in the sense that he catches passes.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry doesn't do that often.
totally true. Totally true.
I mean, honestly, I think it just depends how many times he gets the ball dumped down to him.
Yeah, I agree. Passes are a huge part of his game. He really didn't run the ball that many times, so we'll see this Sunday.
Yeah.
All right, and moving on to number 2, we've got Jonathan Taylor. He's matched up against the Jags. He's projected 20.7 fantasy points. I would go hard over on this.
Yeah, I would love to say hard over, but being a Colts fan, and you guys may know this, but the Colts cannot win a game in Jacksonville to save their lives. Not saying that that's going to be Jonathan Taylor's fault, but there is a little bit of a curse happening there. I think they haven't won there in like 8 years or something like that. But it's Jonathan Taylor and the Jags defense, 20.7. He should get that. Unless for some reason they just pass the ball to Nyheim Hines the whole game. But it's Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion, the best running back in the league. I think that he's going to get that.
I do agree. I would go definitely over. I have full confidence in the Colts. Even though they didn't look fantastic week 1, I think they'll look a lot better week 2. I think they'll go to Jonathan Taylor more this week. I think they're trying to be conservative in week 1. I think we'll see more from them in week 2.
Yeah, I totally agree. I kind of just felt like Matt Ryan needed to settle in a little bit. They did better towards the end of the game. And then Jonathan Taylor did Jonathan Taylor things as always. I mean, he had 161 rushing yards. So, you know,
Yeah.
he performs every single week. So I think that he'll get 20.7 against the Jags.
Yeah, I think he succeeds regardless of whether the Colts win the game or not. I think he's kind of matchup proof and he'll just do great every single game.
Very much agree with that.
Yep. Moving on to number 3, we've got Saquon Barkley matching up against the Panthers. A good running back matchup between him and Christian McCaffrey. Hopefully, we'll see a lot of offense. He's projected 19 points. How do you feel about that?
19. I really like Saquon, but I'm still not bought on just him being back yet. I know that he's been saying that he feels as good as he has since he's been in the league. He did have a good game last week, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm just still not bought on him yet.
I think the talents there with Saquon. I'm concerned about with the Giants is they don't have much in the passing game, and I'm really not confident in Daniel Jones as a NFL starting QB. I don't think he's had a great track record so far, and I haven't really seen anything from him that says he's going to be improving or doing much better. So I'm not sold on the Giants offense because of Daniel Jones, but I think Saquon will probably produce this year regardless of Daniel Jones at QB.
Yeah. Daniel Jones being at quarterback, I don't really think I agree with you. I don't really think that he's not that high caliber of a quarterback in the NFL. But that means, last week he got targeted 7 times and he caught 6 passes. So, that's 6 points right there, full PPR league. So, Daniel Jones being subpar might be good for Saquon Barkley owners just because they're going to get the ball checked down to more.
That's honestly a good point. He won't be throwing down the field as much. He'll be looking for shorter Saquon Barkley routes.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention that Saquon Barkley did, run for 164 yards last week, which was very impressive. I hope he can keep it up. I think he will. I think against Carolina, we'll see what happens. They have an okay defense there.
Yeah.
So 19, yeah.
I'll predict the over for that. I think he'll probably get around 22, 23 maybe.
Yeah, I like the over there too. Yeah, 22 sounds about right to me.
All right. And number 4, we've got Austin Eckler. Obviously, the Chargers are matched up against the Chiefs. He's projected 18.3 fantasy points. He didn't have a fantastic week 1. He looked all right. What do you think?
Yeah, last week he did not have a good outing, but Austin Eckler, last year he consistently put up numbers. I hope that he has a bounce back week. I don't know if 18.3 is I don't know if we're gonna get to that number. We're playing Kansas City. I don't know, man. The thing about Eckler is that Herbert loves to pass the ball, and they put up a bunch of passing yards every game. I don't know, dude. I just think that Eckler's not going to get to 18.3 because they're going to be playing Kansas City. It's going to be a shootout. They're not going to be running the ball much. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Eckler, I would say Eckler is one of those backs that can catch a lot of passes. We've seen him do it in the past. He's caught a lot of passes. I think he's a good pass catcher, and they're without Keenan Allen. So who are they going to look to give to the ball? Who are they going to look to get the ball to more? I would say probably Eckler and Mike Williams. Mike Williams also didn't have that great of a week last week. So we'll see what the Chargers do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he definitely is a passing back. So, if he's utilized for that 18.3, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. And at number 5, we've got Dalvin Cook. The Vikings are matched up against the Eagles. Dalvin's projected 17.7 points. I love Dalvin, but I might have to take the under here. The Vikings didn't run the ball a crazy amount last week. Obviously, Justin Jefferson went completely crazy. He went off. I think they're going to go for that again. The Eagles defense didn't look great. They gave up 35 points to the Lions. So I think it's going to be a passing game for Minnesota.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I do think that Dalvin, he has to have a bounce back, right? Like he they didn't run the ball much, but I think against Philadelphia, I expect Minnesota to beat them by a decent margin. Um, I'm not bought into the Eagles yet, but and Minnesota looked really good against Green Bay last week as well.
They did.
So so I think that Dalvin can get to 17.7 is a lot though. I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted on this one. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with the under just based on last week's performance, just because I mean that's the only thing I have to base it off of for this year.
Yeah, I think this is not to say he won't do well. I just think it'll probably be under that 17 or 18 point mark. I think he'll probably get somewhere between 13 and 15, which is not a bad week by any means. I just don't
Agreed.
think it'll be quite as high as 18 points.
Agreed.
All right. And moving on to wide receiver, we've got number one, Justin Jefferson at 23.3 fantasy points. I'm taking the over. I mean, he looked fantastic last week. Kirk Cousins was slinging it to him. He was wide open every play, it seemed like.
Yeah, I mean it's Jay Jettis 23.3. That is a lot of points, but I mean he's just so good. He's so good at route running, and I mean, yeah, like you said, he was wide open so much last week. So, I mean, I think 23.3 is a lot, though. I probably expect him to get around 20, but yeah, I mean, it's Justin Jefferson, so he's going to get you some points.
Yeah, I mean, he was running himself wide open. No one could guard him. Kirk Cousins didn't even have to make any crazy. I mean, Kirk Cousins was making good throws, but he wasn't having to thread the needle to Justin Jefferson. He was wide open on so many plays.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Number two, we've got Cooper Kupp matched up against the Falcons at 21.3 fantasy points. I'm going to take the over with this as well. I'm not really too high on Atlanta as a team at all, offense or defense. I think the Rams are going to be looking to have a bounce back game here. They got smoked last week by the Bills, even though Cooper Kupp had a great game. I still think Stafford's going to be looking for him a lot. I generally think the Rams will do pretty well this week.
Yeah, I totally agree. I look for the Rams to bounce back as well. I mean, they got destroyed by the Bills last week, Thursday. But I mean, Cooper Kupp still had an amazing week, even though they got destroyed. He got 13, 13 receptions on 15 targets. I mean, the volume like that is really insane. And he scores. Like the man just scores touchdowns. I don't know what it is about him, but Matt Stafford always looks to him in the end zone, in the red zone, to score. So I mean, and he's Cooper Kupp. So 21.3. I will also take the over on this one.
Yep, enough said. Devonte Adams against the Cardinals, number three. He's projected 20.5 fantasy points. I think he'll probably do right around that. I wouldn't say over or under on that one. I think this is a pretty good projection for him.
Yeah. What are we at? 20.5. Yeah, I think that that's a pretty good projection for him. He did really well last week, and Devonta Adams seems to be doing really well with Derek Carr on the Raiders. They have chemistry. They've had chemistry, but they seem to be working very well together. He got a lot of targets last week, and versus Arizona, I mean, Arizona's defense did not look great last week against the Chiefs. So
yeah,
I'm gonna have to say over.
Yeah, I think that's a good prediction. I'm probably still going to stick to the 20 and a half. I'll be conservative on this one, but I totally see where you're coming from on the over. I think that's a good play as well.
Mm-hmm.
Number four, we've got Jamar Chase matched up against the Cowboys. He's projected 18.4 points. I think he should be considerably higher.
Yeah. I mean, against Dallas, I'm surprised he's not at least 20. I mean, he did really well last week, even though the Bengals didn't really have a great game at all. Joe Burrow had a horrible game, really. And Jamar Chase still ended up with 10 receptions and a touchdown. So, I mean, I would look for him to get over 18.4 here. That's an easy one for me.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on to number 5, we've got Stephon Diggs against the Titans. He's projected 18. I would honestly, I'm going to go with over for him too. The Bills offense looked fantastic. They spread the ball around really well. Stephon Diggs got a lot of targets, even though Gabe Davis also got a lot of targets. Dawson Knox kind of like got left out, but I feel like that might be a common theme for the year.
Yeah, I agree. The only reason that I would be worried about this number is because for some reason it seems like Gabe Davis is the one that's scoring touchdowns. I mean, we saw it in the playoffs last year. And then, I mean, they scored last week, but the only person really that I think could take away points from him, take away targets from him, is Gabe Davis. And I mean, Stephon has been shown as a clear number one at Buffalo. I mean, he's the best receiver there. And like you said, Dawson Knox doesn't seem to be getting utilized as much this year. So 18, I don't know about that. I'm going to probably say it's going to be close to 18. So I'm just going to stick with it. I don't really have an over-under for that.
All right, fair enough. I will still take the over. I just have a feeling that the Bills are going to score a lot of points all season.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. Moving on to tight ends. Number 1, we've got Travis Kelce. You know, I get him in fantasy every year. I've kept him as a keeper in our league. They're playing the Chargers. He's projected 17.5. I'm taking the over. I love Travis Kelce. He scores touchdowns all the time. Mahomes looks for him a lot, and he's just great.
Yeah, I mean, my eyes, the best tight end in the league. That's not a hot take whatsoever.
Yep.
But Travis Kelce playing the Chargers, I mean, Mahomes has to have someone to throw it to. With the lack of Tyreek Hill this year, I think that Kelce has become an even bigger target for him. So I really expect him to get a lot of points. I mean, like you said, he scores all the time. He's just honestly so useful. I mean, they'll even do like those little shovel passes to him on the goal line. Like, he's so useful in so many ways to that offense with Andy Reid, the way that he's utilized. I mean, 17.5, I will go with the over as well.
All right. Number 2, we've got Mark Andrews matched up against the Dolphins, 14.7 fantasy points. I'm going to take the over purely because I think he's going to score this week. I think Lamar's going to be looking for him a lot because the Dolphins have such a strong defense. He's going to be trying to throw to his number 1 guy. I don't think Duvernay or Bateman are there with Lamar yet. I think they might get there, but I feel like he'll target Andrews a lot this week.
Yeah, I agree. He has more chemistry with Mark Andrews. I think that also the Dolphins secondary is really good. And if Mark Andrews can squeeze the seams and just get it open, I think that he'll be found a lot by Lamar Jackson. So I'll predict over 14.7 as well.
Definitely. Going on to number 3, we've got Kyle Pitts against the Rams, projected 12.3 fantasy points. I'm going to take the under on this. I think the Falcons offense is really weak. I don't have that much confidence in Mariota, especially against the Rams. I think the Rams are just going to look a lot better this week, offensively and defensively. So I think I'll have to take the under for him.
Yeah, I agree. I expect the Rams to come back to this game, play a solid game, especially against a struggling Atlanta team. You know, Mariota at quarterback, not set on that one either. I mean, Kyle Pitts, he was targeted 7 times last week. He only had 2 catches. But I still think under 12.3 is my call.
Yep. Number 4, we've got Darren Waller matched up against the Cardinals. He's projected 11.3 points. And in my opinion, I think this is really just dependent on whether he scores or not. If he scores, he's over 11.3. If he doesn't score, it's probably going to be right around 11.3. Darren Waller's not getting used as much as he used to. Devontae Adams has taken some of his targets away. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean that was gonna be my exact words. Was that with Devontae Adams there, Waller's not gonna get used as much. You still got to spread the love a little bit. You got Renfro on there too. But
Yep.
if if Darren Waller scores, then sure. But I don't think he will. I'm gonna say under 11.3.
All right. 2 unders for Darren Waller. Dalton Schultz matched up against the Bengals, 10.2 fantasy points. I do not like the Cowboys. Dak Prescott is hurt. They didn't look good when Dak Prescott was not hurt for most of that Sunday night game. I just have no faith in the Cowboys.
This is gonna be my hot take of the night. I'm gonna go over
All
with
right.
Dalton Schultz. Yeah, Dak is out, but it seemed like Dalton Schultz was the only guy who was catching any passes and being targeted at all last week. It really seems like there's no cohesion with the receivers at all on that team. I mean, besides Schultz, who's been there for a long time. So I think that he's going to go over with us. He's playing Cincinnati. I 10.2. I think that's easy. I mean, he's a vet on the team. He's going to be looked to for the easy passes. I think it's over.
Fair enough. I think my sleeper tight end for the week is Albert O. I think he looked pretty good for the Broncos. They've got a favorable matchup going against the Texans. He caught some passes last week. I think Russ might look to him a few more times. I think he'll go over his projection of 8.9. He's probably available in a lot of leagues. So look out for Albert O.
Yeah, I do like him as well. He looked pretty good last week.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. This is our week 2 preview. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, guys.